All the good-looking people. We are live with some weekly Q&A. Dun, 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 dun. Um, so wanted to throw something out for you guys. One of the things that I do really differently in my agency is the thing I always hated the most was the phone. I'm not like anti the phone, but most of the phone calls were kind of like what I called like reassure me calls, or before you get the client and trying to like sell them, like chase them and impress them. And actually, now in our agency, we get our clients without the phone. We sign them up, just do it through email and through chat. And it's way easier, by the way, because the offer is the big piece of that as well. I don't do meetings, which makes my agency life a lot easier because I couldn't even do meetings if I wanted to, right? Like they're just, I don't have time for them with two babies. So if you're interested in something like that, it's not a formal offer, but if you just be interested in if I actually put something together for that, let me know and I will go further with it. If not, if I don't hear from you guys, I'll know it's just the old swing and miss. Anywho, let's get to the Q&A. All right, Shannon says, anyone have tips for sending out 100 plus cold outreach emails per day? I'm honestly confused about how that is possible to do while customizing each one. How would this be automated? Okay, Shannon, I'll answer the last part first, but that's actually the least valuable part of the question, which is um, there's a lot of tools. I don't do a ton of that. You can also like hire a virtual assistant. That's how people are doing that 100 times a day. But before that, before you start thinking like volume and numbers, like I think people think you got to send hundreds of messages. Like we actually just did a campaign for my agency where last week I sent out exactly 6 letters, and every single one of them was really customized and personalized. We've already actually had one response back, but these are all like big time heavy hitting influencers, like people who have millions and millions of followers. And I'm not just, you know, chasing mom and pop and harassing them with messages. And a big part of what that makes it work is it's a real personalized offer, it's a real personalized message. And so the idea that you need to send hundreds, I think, is a flawed concept to begin with. So before you like think hundreds, think about just getting like one message right and then automate it. Because what I find people do is they get the personalization, they get the automation wrong, and then they try and cover it up with volume. So I'll see people send thousands of messages a day to get a couple of responses, and the responses are mostly just fuck off. But if you do it right, you can send like 6 little messages and pick up like hundreds of thousands of dollars in business. So before you get into this idea like numbers, 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 get one right, and then you can automate it. But by the way, there's a ton of tools. I'm not the best person to answer that, but if you ask around, I'm sure somebody will know which tools to use. Sarah, I'm curious. What do you say on a cold or warm call and the prospect says something like, I'm not interested or I'm good? Sarah, I say nothing other than to ask for feedback to clarify why they're not interested, because that's actually the really valuable part that you can use for the next person. But that just tells me what you're going to hear me say probably 1,000 times while you're in this group is that your offer is broken, and they've heard that before, and it just sounds like everybody else. So if they say, I'm not interested or I'm good, usually it's because it's presented as some kind of vague idea, like I'll get you mo better business, right? So maybe you sell Google AdWords and you show up and you say I'm going to do better AdWords than the other guy, right? But it's not really clear what you could do or why you could do it. So I tell you 2 words that'll save you a lot of fucking headaches in learning this, which is called add on, right? Because chances are, I'm willing to bet a lot of money that you're trying to replace something they're doing, and they've heard it before, and so that's where you're getting all the resistance. But if you can do something that adds on to what they're doing, you're going to get a lot more yeses. Daron, I struggle a lot with I have to talk it over with my partner. Now, this is different, by the way, Daron. In some niches, there actually are partners, like in law firms, often there's 3 partners and they have to make decisions together. I'll tell you, nine to I would say 9 times out of 10 when you hear I have to talk to my partner, they're just looking for a polite way to get the fuck off the phone with you. So they're not like gonna go actually and talk to the partner after and have this long conversation. Usually, actually, Quite the opposite is they're going to have no conversation. And the way to tell, I'll tell you, when I've had people who really needed to talk with a partner, there's specifics in there that you don't hear, right? So I'll give you an example. Um, I'll hear from a law firm when they're really seriously going to talk to their partner, they'll say, "Hey, I don't make any decisions without my partner, Rob. We've got a meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Can you send me some materials so that I can go over stuff with him? Because I don't do anything without talking to my partner. Like, I need to talk to my partner. But this is something we'd be interested in doing, and I just want to run it by him first. Would you be okay with that?" That's when they're really going to go talk to their partner. Now, when they just say, "Hey, I need to talk to my partner," they're putting it off and they're telling you no. This is again like one of the most valuable things you can learn is why people are saying no to your offer because then you can actually fix it. So I would just say, hey, like make it okay for them to put the truth on the table and say like, I get it, this is not a fit for you. I'm not going to try and sell you or like push you or anything. Can you just tell me why it wasn't a fit? Because I would love to be able to make it better and fix it for the next person and make it okay for them to tell you the truth. But they're not going to talk to their partner. It ain't happening. They're just looking for a reason to get off the phone with you, and that tells me there's something broken with your offer, but you can figure that out. Most likely, by the way, it's a Mo Better offer, and they've heard that before. I know, I sound like a broken record, but it's the truth, man. Sherry, how would you handle this situation? New 3-day, $100 trial client. He's a new young chiropractor and was only doing the trial so I can get him some leads and get a testimonial and proof of concept. He can't afford to sign me up long term as he pays a good chunk of his patient's fees to the clinic he's working out of. However, I'm trying to get good results so the clinic as a whole will take me on. This week, my Facebook ads manager has been all screwy, taking over 24 hours to review ads that were previously approved. Just tweaks made, frozen ads approved but not showing to anyone. And his first ads weren't performing at all. Um, with tweaks to the ads, I got 2 leads, but almost half of the budget wasted on just 2 leads. Now up to a total of 4 leads. I explained yesterday to him that I was adding on 2 days to the trial as Facebook was acting weird and not approving his ads for over 24 hours. I wanted Facebook to get back to normal and not waste his money. I feel like I oversold him, and now I am not delivering. Um, oh no, my kids destroyed it. Here we go. So Sherry, this is like a real key to what you're doing. So a lot of times we think that buying is like a binary thing, meaning they either buy or they don't, right? Like they either want the product or they don't. This is the golf analogy, and the chiropractor and you are working from here. So this is somebody who's like never heard of you, and you're trying to sell their chiropractic service and drive them 500 yards to the hole and convert a stranger. But actually, in every business, there's almost always already business close to the hole. These are people who may have called them and been interested, or even people who've come in for services once and didn't renew. And so if I only had $100, or even if I didn't really, if I had $100,000 to work with, before I went here and tried to convince strangers, I would work on working here. Now, having said that, if you got something that works with Facebook ads, I'm not telling you not to do that. Just know that I've heard so much information lately that Facebook is fucky because of the election. Firstly, this is like my third time going through an election on Facebook ads. Your ads will perform at best half as well during the election, and a lot of people are just having all kinds of approval and banning issues. These are really big right now. I know it's happening to a lot of you guys. So just expect some of that. But my thing is like, don't be 100% dependent on Facebook ads to generate a business, because chances are he's got people coming in the door for one treatment, and those people would buy more things for him if he just made the damn offer. So if I was going to help him, I wouldn't try and help him get more strangers in the door. I would help him convert more of the strangers he's already got into clients to like people who pay him recurring. And there's ways to structure that so that it's kind of effortless from I came in here because my back hurt and I want 3 treatments to now I'm signed up for a year-long package. So the more you can dial that in, the more you're just going to make your life fuck tons easier, and then it'll be irrelevant whether the $100 for Facebook works or not. Because he's sitting on gold already, and you're chasing the 500 yard away hardest to get, and you only have a tiny budget, and it's a small little practice, and there's probably not a lot of unique differentiators for him in the market at this point. So don't go after all the hard money first. I have a concept called a magic trick, and a magic trick is like If somebody held a gun to my head and gave me only like 24 or 48 hours to get a result for somebody, what would I do? And very rarely is that magic trick going to use Facebook ads. It's going to use the resources they already have. And so I would refine your magic trick more to then like I can get you some leads for $100 on Facebook. And more than likely, like you could run a little referral campaign that would get them more business than anything you could do on Facebook ads right now. So there's my 2 cents. Longer answer, but yeah, and I feel you on the part where you just like you feel like you oversold them and you're not delivering. Sometimes like you really believe your ad's going to work and they just don't, and then you feel like an asshole. I've been there, but that's why you want to take people on these small first dates anyway, so that if you can't deliver, it's easy for you to back out. He's not gonna lose his shit over $100. Ross, need some advice, people, on how you handle. I need to think about it. I mean, I don't know what else to do other than pay for it for them, for the transparency is so clear and the offer is awesome. But through all the conversation, pitching, trial offer, you name it, I always finish on, I just need to think about it. Ross, I'm going to disagree, by the way, that you may think your offer is awesome, but in their eyes, it doesn't sound like it. Um, and they're the judge of that, not you. So chances are, most likely, you're falling in the category of I've heard that before. Now, there's probably a second issue you've got going on there. Sorry for the big drink. You're probably going after the wrong people, and this is like it makes sense, but we often approach it backwards. So, like, say for example, like what your product was you're selling shoes. Almost always, your first idea when selling shoes is to sell to the person who needs some shoes, right? Like if they're barefoot, you're like, hey, I got the solution for you, Mr. Barefoot. Um, Come buy my shoes, and you don't have to deal with foot pain and all those things. But actuality, the best person to sell shoes to is the person who has 150 pairs in their closet already. They're a demonstrated buyer of shoes. And it's counterintuitive, but we often think that we should go and approach people who need what we have, but have never ever in history demonstrated that they will buy that thing. And that's a tough sell because you got to convince them to buy it the first time and that you're the right person. Way easier to approach somebody who buys this shit all the time and give them an add-on that, like, if I'm selling shoes, I go, hey, you have 150 pairs of shoes. I got this perfect little shoe rack that's designed to like spin all your shoes around so you can pick them out and easily choose the right pair. Like an add-on to a shoe buyer is going to make your life way, way easier than trying to convince a person who's never bought shoes to buy shoes. Now, how that relates to your offer is more than likely you're trying to sell Mobetta to somebody who wouldn't have bought it no matter what your fucking pitch is. And so you're creating all this resistance that doesn't need to be there, trying to convince people who just would never do it, and they're just going to tell you I need to think about it because they don't have a nice way to just tell you to fuck off and say I don't want to be in this. Because sales conversations are like pressure, right? So they're just trying to diffuse that pressure and get out of it, and they don't have a way to say like I'm not interested in this and just be honest and direct. So it's you're getting I need to think about it. Aaron. So wanted some questions about like what are the 3 niches I should go for? What are the client criteria? How do you approach them? How do you close the clients? Here are the fees to charge. These are the service providers to help you deliver this. Hence my question, knowing what we do, how would you approach this agency business as like somebody brand new? Well, firstly, the niches that work best, by the way, are the ones that you already know something about. You can learn a new niche brand new, by the way, but it's harder. And it'll take you like 6 months to really, really understand the people in there. In my experience, 6 months of just like talking and having conversations with them to get where they're coming from. If you've already been in their shoes, that's almost always the perfect niche. As far as client criteria, and this is really, really big. This is like 10 years of what took me to figure out to save yourself a lot of headaches. First is, do they have at least an option for some kind of high-end product or service? Because if you're going to generate a bunch of leads for somebody, way easier to generate one $25,000 lead than it is to generate like, I don't know, hundreds or even thousands of low money leads. So like almost in every niche, there's variance. So like a dentist, they might charge $35,000 for a set of veneers, but only make $100 for a checkup. If you're generating checkup leads and treating all leads as equal, you're going to have way more work. So always choose a niche that at least has the possibility for like that high-end niche or that high-end client. Then I'll tell you, don't deal with single owner mom and pop shops. You'll save yourself so many headaches because They're the hardest ones to help, but also don't deal with really giant companies because in my experience, it's not fun because they like have meetings and bureaucracy and it takes a lot of effort to turn the ship. So my favorite spot is usually businesses that have between like 2 and 15, 20 employees, and they fit in that range where the owner still wants to grow, but you can deal with the owner directly. And then the last criteria is, are they spending money right now today? Because if they're not, you're going to have a hard time convincing them. So if you do those things, they have a high-end niche, they're spending money today, and they have between 2 and 20 people, you're going to have a way easier time. How do you approach them? It's really, really easy. You just approach them and what's meaningful and important to them, either a problem they have or a high value upside. Um, so closing the clients, closing is the idea that like you need to be really good at selling. And actually, if you have the right offer, most of the selling is done through the offer. Selling, like when you have to hard sell people and like close them, it's usually because your offer sucks. And almost always it's because it's a better improvement and it's not very specific. So get out of that and you'll get rocking. Now, I'd say fees to charge if you're a beginner, probably in the 1,000 to 3,000 range. You can go way higher, by the way. You can have like 10,000, 20,000, $50,000 a month clients. But in the beginning, that number is probably going to make you really uncomfortable. And if you go too low, what ends up happening is you won't be able to deliver a good service. You won't be able to hire people, because you just don't have a budget to benefit them. So it took me a long time to realize a big part of the reason you charge a high price is not because it makes you more money. Clearly it does, but it also helps you service the clients better. Service providers to help you deliver it. Obviously depends on what niche you have, but you can almost always walk into a group of people and say, hey, has anybody got a working campaign for this? Blah, 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 and you'll get some hand raisers. So they're not hard to find. But that's, knowing what I know now, that's how I would approach this is if you stick to the biggest thing is choosing the right clients in the first place. If you do that, 99% everything else is going to get easier. Destiny, how long did it take you guys to get your first client? I'm feeling discouraged. Destiny, it took me 2 years online before I made a single dollar. We sold a real estate course, so it wasn't really like an agency client. And I made exactly $0. And I still remember the first day a stranger gave me money on the internet. I actually like called up the business partner I had, and I was like, "Someone just gave us $47," and he was like, "Well, who?" And I'm like, "That's the best part. I don't know." So like getting it off the ground is harder than you think. Now, as far as getting clients, it became a lot easier because in order to get those people to the website, I had to learn SEO. It was easier to sell SEO once I knew how to do SEO. So it can take you a while. I mean, there's certainly ways you can shorten that learning curve, but more than likely, you're going to face some discouragement in the beginning. That's just how it is with anything. When you learn to ride a bike, you fell 16 times, but I'm sure now it's not hard to ride a bike. Everything is like that. Anybody who tells you like this is going to be easy, if it was easy to build a 7-figure agency, then everybody would have one. So I'd be bullshitting you to tell you otherwise. But like, just keep pushing through that and solving the immediate problem in front of you. And of course, if you want to make your life easier, figure out the offer. You've heard me say that once. Or twice, or 1,000 times. Okay, next couple of questions are all in the same kind of boat. So I'm going to read them all at once. Milos, hey team, so our ad account has been suspended or disabled for unacceptable business practice policy. So we wrote to appeals at Facebook and did not hear back. How much time can it take before they get back to us? Guarov, what would you do if Facebook all of a sudden deactivates your business manager? I'm running an advertising agency. My agency did wonders for a client in the past 2 months with consistent results with each campaign. Return on ad spend 5 to 15 times, even after scaling. I use my account for their ads, clothing business, with their pixel and catalogs. It was time for the next big scale, and Facebook just blocked that account. I wasn't running any ads other than that account, and now all my assets are restricted. I'm not sure what to do. Now, thing is, my client's ad account is still functional, but I'm afraid if Facebook is going to hit there too. We are paying taxes, and I cannot create any random accounts due to budget we need in Facebook ads. How do you guys handle such scenarios? I appealed, but every time I received a generic answer, I'm claiming that I'm constantly violating their policy, but they didn't pinpoint anything, and I'm 100% sure that I'm running ads that are compliant with their policy. And then, okay, Nepali, I need help. I don't know why I'm not able to run my ads. Okay, so you guys, just so you know, what I'm hearing in my world, Facebook ads is massively shutting down people right now, and that's just happening. That's a reality. So One of the things I think you guys should learn is like get out of this narrow focus that says the only way to grow a business is through Facebook ads. I mean, they work. I'm not saying not to do them, but if you want to have like a real business, and by I mean a real business that's still going to be around in 10 years, you need at least 3 to 5 ways to generate business. And I would say probably closer to 5. And not have any single one of those ways of generating business to be responsible for more than 33% of your income. So you can appeal. What I'm seeing right now is probably like anywhere from like a couple of days to a couple of weeks for Facebook to get back to you, and that's just what you're going to have to deal with because Facebook is Facebook, and you're not going to be able to like really do anything. I am hearing people getting those accounts back. Everything's a little fucky from the election right now, and it will sort of normalize. In my experience, you'll still probably pay like 25-30% more when you get towards Christmas. You won't really see ads go back to normal, what you're experiencing before all this happened, till probably January. And January things will get kind of easy again. Um, but having said that, it's a deeper issue if you put 100% of your eggs in one basket, and that basket can be turned off. So I'll tell you, the best traffic in the world is traffic that you control, which is your own customer list. If you're selling all that clothing and you're getting 5 to 15 times return on ad spend, my question is, what are you doing with all the fucking customers, right? Like, what are you doing with all the people who bought clothing that now would probably buy more clothing for you? Do you have options? Do you have recurring packages? Do you have more upsells? Do you have cross sells? And by the way, these don't all have to be your products, but if you sell a Facebook ad and ignore the customer, you're always going to be dependent on Facebook ads. But if you use Facebook ads to acquire a customer and then continue to serve that customer after the initial transaction is made and you've paid Facebook, that's your customer for life. So that's where the real gold in your business is. And that's where the real gold in your customer's business. If you want to help them like survive the long term, not just get a 5 to 15% return on ad spend, which is really good, by the way. I'm not like shitting on that. I don't want to sound like confrontational about that. Like those are really impressive numbers on an e-commerce campaign. I just mean that you're basically putting 100% of your control of your business in Facebook ads. And I've done this before, where I had 100% of control of my business in Google with SEO. So if you're like everybody else getting your ad accounts shut down right now, for you, the first thing to do is just look at your customer list, and then obviously work on the appeals of getting it back. But in the meantime, like, don't give up your whole business and throw in the towel because Facebook deactivated you in the moment. There's at least 10 other things you can do. And for example, one of the easiest things you can do is you have a campaign that's working, right? Like, so you can bribe, say, influencers in that space very, very easily to run your campaigns. Like, they would be happy to do that. So don't get hung up on the idea that Facebook ads are the only way. You can also run Google and YouTube ads. Chances are, if it's working in one, it's going to work in the other. But appeal it. But in the meantime, like, don't. This is exactly the reason why not to put your entire fucking business in the life of Facebook, and because they're fucking crazy. Helmy, I work for a locksmith. My ads aren't really great. I get clicks but no relevant conversions. Does anyone have an idea what I can do better? Helmy, I don't know tons about the locksmith space, but I do know that a lot about offers, and it probably means almost 100% certain whatever you're sending them to on the landing page is where that's breaking, because if you're getting clicks but they're not converting, then the landing page is where it's broken. And that means, that tells me more than likely it's your offer on the landing page. Probably sounds like everybody else, a generic, hey, we do locksmiths, call us. They probably have seen 100 ads like that. So give them a reason to call you that's different than everybody else. I don't work in that space, but I imagine what would be relevant to me if I got locked out of my car or my house, that speed would be important, that you be professional, that you're trustworthy, that you charge a flat rate, that there's no hidden fees. So, like, put those things in your landing page and watch what happens. And you can do a little bit of research. Just find out and like do a little bit of research on Google and check out some like nightmare stories of somebody hiring a locksmith, and then you can like almost sell against that, right? Like, he took 6 hours to get there. Well, we can be there in under 30 minutes or whatever it is. So there's ways you can improve that offer and make it stand out. I've seen this done with a plumber. Like, one of the things a plumber did is a lot of people don't realize this, but like, plumbers show up and they fucking stink, right? They smell. So like, one of their guarantees was like, my plumber is going to show up showered and smell nice, right? It's really nice if you're going to have somebody come into your home and they don't stink, right? So you wouldn't think that would be a differentiator that would be all that important to people, but it actually is. Our plumbers can show up on time, be professional, smell nice, no hidden fees. That alone can like sell you. So I imagine a lot of those things would carry over in the locksmith space. Kim, what do you do when your Facebook ads just stop working? They were generating leads 2 weeks ago, but now they fall flat. Kim, that's I don't really know what specifics of fall flat means, but I do know that 100% of the time your Facebook ads are not going to work forever. I know I hate to be the bearer of bad news. The longest I've ever seen an ad run, my own personal ones, I've had ones at like 8, 9 months. I've been able to run untouched. Those are like the really good ads. Usually you can get like 2 weeks to a month out of some kind of working ad, but they stop working. The first obvious thing you can do if they were working, and it's just because your audience has seen it over and over, is just like for real, just change the image. Like sometimes just swapping out the image will make it work again. Um, and then of course, like reworking the creatives is you gotta like constantly find ways to be unique and interesting. And a lot of times, what we forget is that what we sell is kind of like a hammer that has a lot of different uses. Um, I'll give you an example, right? Like we have a client who's selling Google reviews. And you would think Google reviews is this one thing and you can only advertise it one way, which is Google reviews, right? But actually, there's a lot of reasons why somebody would want more Google reviews. I'll give you one of them. Their SEO sucks, right? Like they're not ranking and they want to get their My Business ranking higher up. Here's another reason: conversion, right? Like what ends up happening a lot of times is if their website's boring, is people call them and they say, you need to think about it, or I'll call you back. But when they have really good reviews, that doesn't happen. So if they're getting, I could run an entire ad that just says, are you getting phone calls that says I need to think about it or I'll call you back. Well, we can fix that. When you get 50 positive reviews, nobody will ever say that to you again, right? Another reason to generate more reviews, and this is a little pro tip for all the guys and gals who work with local businesses, is they hate their competitors. 100% of the time, local businesses hate their competitors and know them all by name. So you can sell against the competitor, right? Like, did you if you are you guys behind your competitor XYZ, well, one of the best ways to catch up to them is more Google reviews. So there's just 3 different ways you can present the same service, the same offer, and we could do this a lot longer. But I just wanted to show you. And then another one is like, is your website not converting? You can have them convert before they even get to the website, right? Because like I've had people when they start getting like 100+ reviews on their My Business listing, where businesses will call them or customers will call that business and say, "Hey, we want to do business with you because we saw your reviews," right? So never think that there's only one way to sell your leads. So that's the first obvious thing, like I mentioned, is swipe the images if your ads aren't working and try that. But there's a lot of ways to revamp the creative without having to reinvent your offer by just positioning it against a new problem, a new issue, and so forth. And you'll find lots of ways to make that work. So that's all the questions I got for you guys, or question and answer I got for you guys this week. A lot of ads getting shut down. Seriously, a lot of ads getting shut down. Maybe I should offer you guys something that'll help you be immune to that. But in the meantime, I wanted to let you guys know if you're interested, and this is not a formal offer, but just let me know if this would be something you'd be interested in. My agency, we don't get on the phone, not for meetings, not to sell anything. If you'd be interested in having your agency be phoneless because you hate the phone like I hated it, that's definitely something we could do. So if that makes sense as something you would be interested in, let me know. And I'm also going to be posting the review of this on the YouTube channel. So if you're not following, there's all of 6 people on there. I know, but I just how I want it, just a small little intimate space of us cool peeps. So check that out. For now, that's all I got for you guys. Much love. Peace.